Hello YouTube, InnovaCrate 12 here. Now that I'm done with some of this fighting and stuff, there's a video that I wanted to do for a long time, and it's this one. And it's about music. I'm going to start doing a series of stuff about music and everything else like that, because it's my biggest love. And, I think that unity can be found and everything through music. I know that sounds cheesy, but bear with me. So what I'm going to start off with is telling you my top 5 bands and why I like them and everything else. And I want to make this quick because the first time that I tried this, it ended up being a 20-minute video, and I don't want it that long. So here we go. Number 5 would happen to be a band by the name of Queensryche. I love Queensryche. I first got into them through the Operation Mindcrime album, and then I went into their back catalog after that, and then moved forward. They're progressive rock and progressive metal. Geoff Tate happens to be my favorite vocalist. I think he's one of the best vocalists ever. An amazing band, well put together. They play amazingly together. I've seen them live twice, and they've blown me away both times. And Geoff Tate, even though he has a very hardcore regiment when he's on tour, his vocals were amazing, spot on. So yes, number 4 would be Maiden. And the reason Queensryche and Maiden are very close together is because, well, when Queensryche first started, they sounded a little bit like Maiden. Their first 2 albums were very Maidenish. If you listen to them, listen to old Maiden and listen to very first Queensryche, yeah, you can tell their influences. Maiden, again, they were the metal band that got me into metal. It wasn't the very first album that I got, but Maiden has, they were like the second or third metal album that I ever got was Live After Death, their live album. And I went into all their stuff after that, and still to this day, my favorite album ever is Peace of Mind. I love that album. I think it's one of the best produced, one of the best sounding. Lyrically, I think it's one of the best. It's an amazing album. So we have Maiden. Number 3. Number 3 would be Dream Theater. Yeah, Dream Theater. An amazing band. Very first song I ever heard from them was Pull Me Under. And how they how they end that song, they do that live, and it's amazing because they end off on a half beat. I think it's 3.5 they end. So it ends up leaving you kind of, what? And I love that. And they do that live. And that takes musicianship. You can't fake that shit. Amazing band. Wicked. Hardcore, but they keep getting labeled metal, but they're not metal to me. They're like the progressive rock version of Zeppelin. They play a little bit of everything. They have, some classical pieces. They have some, they have some metal pieces. They have some just rock. They have some folk, jazz thrown in there, of course. So they're an eclectic band. So I don't label them as metal, and I don't label them just as rock. I label them as Dream Theater. They're really good. If you get a chance, listen to them. One of their best albums, and my second favorite album, is Awake by them. And that album is hardcore all the way through it. It's pretty heavy, and I like it. Second place is Rush. Rush is one of my Canadian bands that I just love. And let's see. I got into them with Exit Stage Left, and moved on from there. Followed them through the 80s and everything else, into the 90s. Cheered when they became our Canadian music ambassadors, which I thought was funny, but I also cheered it. I was like, that's awesome. And I cheered when I saw them on Stephen Colbert. That was an awesome interview. That was wicked. When it comes to Rush, they barely have any songs that I don't like, but there are a few. And one I cannot stand. Anytime I hear it come on the radio or anything like that, I change the channel. And that's that would be In the Mood. It's a terrible song because it's not Rush-esque. It's they're trying to be sexual, I guess you could say, and it's not Rush. It's not Rush at all. To me, Rush is the thinking man's music, especially lyrically. So, Rush. First place is sitting with two people, two bands that sit side by side. I cannot pick one over the other. The first is Alice in Chains. I've been a big fan of Alice in Chains for a long time. I used to be in a band that we used to do quite a few Alice in Chains songs. We loved doing it. I had so much fun playing it, and the reason that these two bands are in the first place, Alice in Chains would pick me up out of my depressions because I would sit there and I'd listen to it. And I know Staley used to write a lot of songs about drugs, but he wrote them in a way that you could take it other ways. You could look at it other ways and think about it other ways. And I love that about him. And even their new stuff without Lane, and rest in peace Lane, I actually got a little tearful when I found out that Lane died. But their new album, the one that's out after Lane, the very first one that came out after Lane died, is still that Alice in Chains feel. Wow. And it's done really well. And it brought a couple tears to my eyes. The other band that picks me up and pulls me up into a good place is these guys. They have a way of saying, oh, you think you're depressed? Here, let me take your face that's on the bottom of the river there that you're drowning in, and dig you under about another 6 feet and drag you along and then pull you up and then spit in your face and go, now that's bottom. Is Tool. They are an amazing band. Undertow is one of my top albums. I love that album. It's the very first one that I got into Tool. And I've followed them ever since and went into their back catalog. I love, besides Undertow, their other stuff. I love their tongue-in-cheek. I love their jokiness, their vibe about it, and all top-notch players. And when I saw them live, wow, totally opened my whole new perspective on how to play music and what to do and how to do it. And I defy any band nowadays to do what they do and become as popular as they are. I mean, they could be walking down the street and there's only a handful of people that would recognize them. And yet they're one of the most famous bands out there. You mention Tool and most people know who you're talking about. Amazing band, and watching them live just blows me away. So there you have it. My top 5, actually 6, but work with me. So what I want to do is I want comments back and videos back responding to about these bands and what you think of them and bands that you like and stuff like that. And I want to start getting songs and critiquing, and I'm going to send songs back to people that comment to me and have you critique them and tell me what you think. I'm getting into a new band from Mike Portnow, that the guy from Dream Theater, the drummer from Dream Theater left. Red, I'm getting into him, and I'm going to be doing my next video on that album. And Dream Theater's new album. I don't want to do a comparison because that's not right, but I want to just, do a critique on both albums and let you know what I think. It's just opinion, and it's subjective, totally. So you may not like any of the bands that I mentioned, and you might like all of the bands that I mentioned. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Peace out, and have a good one. Enjoy the music.